Hi, welcome to AFTERBUZZ TV Spotlight On. Today I'm in studio with Folake Olowofoyeku. Don't go away.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Whoa, where's our clapping? I was all set for our studio audience clapping. I love that. It was like a build-up. We had to imagine that one in our heads.
I could hear it. I think I created that too.
Absolutely, we manifest that. Thank you so much for joining us on AFTERBUZZ TV. I'm excited to be in studio today with Folake. Thank you, Folake. Where can everyone find you on social media before we get going?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram, the Folake.
Excellent, and I am your host, Zoe Hewitt. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Zoe Said What. That's Zoe Said What. Now, before we get going, you have such a fascinating story, I think, about your last name and last names in Nigeria, that they can be sort of sentences that are mashed together to create a name.
Yeah.
So your last name, which I will pronounce again, hopefully correctly once more, Olowofoyeku,
Yes.
has a really interesting meaning, doesn't it?
Yeah. Olowofoyeku. The sentence is Olowofoyeku, and that means a rich man uses a chieftaincy title to kind of top off his wealth. And a chieftaincy title being something similar to being knighted in Yoruba culture.
I think that's fascinating, the concept, I guess, of blending any sentence or any idea of what you want to create your name, because it really then sets you up for what you want.
Yeah, like our names in general in Nigeria, especially in Yoruba culture, is very important and very powerful. Like folks can sometimes tell you a story from your name, you know?
Tell a story meaning about your life?
Your lineage, perhaps, or just the intentions your family or parents had for you.
Oh, that's really fascinating. So is there extra pressure then in naming children to hope that they live up to a certain standard with a name?
I'm not sure. I didn't feel pressure from my name, but I guess in some cases there might be, or that might be the intention of the parents or the family.
And your first name also has a beautiful meaning about wealth, but not just monetary, wealth in anything, and joy and happiness. Right?
Yeah, it's all encompassing. So like just Folake, use wealth to pamper. So it's obviously not monetary, but it's like joy, happiness, all the good things in life, the truly good things in life.
Well, it seems like all of these great things in life are coming to you. You have a really exciting movie coming out, Deathrays 2050, and this is by the cult classic director, too, Roger Corwin.
Yeah.
So what was it like? Did you go back and watch the first one from 1975?
No, and I'm not going to until I've seen ours.
And so when you first got the call that you'd been cast in this, what was your initial reaction?
I had a feeling I was going to get it. I mean, I certainly was hoping I would. And I remember a couple of weeks went by and I hadn't heard anything. And I called my agent. I called my managers and I'm like, hey guys, can you call and ask them what's going on? Yeah. And this was like towards the end of the year last year, and like around this time last year actually. And I was like, can you find out what's going on? I just really feel like I'm gonna be a part of this. And then we found out that I was, and I was excited, obviously. And then the location was Lima, Peru, and I was ready for that.
And so how long were you in Peru shooting?
I was shooting, personally, I was there for about a month. Yeah.
That's a nice chunk of time to be somewhere. And there was a lot of fun action. So I guess before we go further, can you explain the premise of this film?
Okay, so this film, Deathrays 2050, takes place in post-apocalyptic corporate America. So it's referred to as the United Corporations of America. And it's a satire, and it pokes fun at well, I don't want to give it away. What can I tell you without giving it away? Okay, so it's a satire. It takes place in post-apocalyptic America, and the media is used, and virtual reality is used to kind of placate the masses. And in this particular case, we're focused on the death races. And what happens in the race is you score points, obviously by winning. You want to be the one that wins, but also you can gain points and popularity by killing people with your vehicle in different ways. And the more outrageous the kills, the better it is for you.
And these dystopian society type films, it makes me think of like the Hunger Games type story, are so popular. And why do you think it is that people are so fascinated by what is really kind of a grisly story in the end?
You know, I actually heard that the original Deathrays 2000 may have inspired other films like the Mad Maxes and the Hunger Games. Why are people so interested in it? That zombie movies, I think maybe subconsciously we're trying to prepare for it.
I know, with the corporations of America, for sure. I thought there are some themes here that are a little bit relevant.
I think this is the perfect time for Deathrays to be coming out, Deathrays 2050.
It is, and it'll be released in January 17th of 2017 on Blu-ray, DVD, so really great formats. So did you get to do any of your own racing? Any of the stunts?
I got to do some stunts. I got to do some stuff. I didn't do a lot of driving though. It was a stick shift, and although I learned first when I was a teenager, I learned how to drive on a stick shift. I couldn't quite remember in time to be efficient to do it for a shoot. Yeah. So I had a stunt driver for that, but everything else that you see that you're going to see in the movie, I did.
And so there are two of you in each car, right? So you were working closely with someone else for a long time. It was the two of you together.
Paulo,
And so what were some of the things that went on when you were in that car together for long days, just the two of you hanging out in between?
There was a lot of sweating. So he spoke Spanish, right? Most of the crew and the cast from Peru were mostly Spanish speakers. So I got to brush up on my Spanish a little bit. But we just spent a lot of time trying to figure out what would work for the film in terms of like creating a good rapport, chemistry and stuff like that. And Paulo was great. He was the perfect person to work with. I think our team was the best.
And now on set, especially when people are in a new place, it seems like a lot of times actors bond and crew. Now you said some people were from Lima already, but those of you who came from other places, what sort of bonding was happening?
Oh, we had a great time, if I may say so myself. We had a great time. So all the actors from LA and all the actors actually happened to be from LA. We all stayed in the same hotel overlooking the pier in Miraflores. And it was almost like a death race takeover at the hotel because we were like the majority of the occupants, and we kind of carved out our own space and we named it the Checkpoint. And we named it the Checkpoint because of Death Race. Obviously, you start at the checkpoint, and we'd like text each other, "Yeah, we're at the checkpoint. Let's meet up here before we go out." We got to explore the city. Lots of great food, lots of ceviche, Ubering around. We went on like excursions and bikes. It was great. Got in a bit of trouble. It was fun. It's certainly one of those. It's certainly going to go down in history as one of the funnest times on a production, for sure.
Well, you can't leave us hanging, though. You got in a little bit of trouble and then moved on. It was a lot of fun. What happened?
Well, I'll tell you this one. Okay, so the producer, Lucho, he invited us to gorgeous beach house on a weekend. Great food, and then like we go down to the beach and we're all hanging out, and for some reason I see two of the other cast members, Marcy and Anissa, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna carry both of you.
Carrie physically left.
Yeah. So I think Marcy was carrying Anissa, and I was like, okay, yeah, carry her, and I'm gonna carry both of you. And I think some of the guys, David was like, I don't think you should. I'm like, no, I got it. And I go, and I think I get them off the ground by like an inch or a couple of inches, and then I feel myself falling back, and I hear like a snap in my knee, and I just shut off, and I fall down. And then the guys come rushing over, David and Bert, and they're like, "Are you okay? That didn't look good." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine. Look, my knee's fine." Next morning,
swollen completely.
Yeah, and then that's when we did. And the next day we had the scene where we all walk in a single file towards the race, towards our cars, and I had to do the walk in heels and sexy, but I was in excruciating pain.
Oh,
it was pretty bad.
it was poor timing.
Terrible timing. Needless to say, I'm not going to be lifting people up.
And here I was looking forward to the rest of the interview.
Yeah.
Well,
I learned my lesson.
Well, it's funny you say that because beforehand we were talking about how you do Krav Maga, which is like the Israeli martial art.
Yeah.
And so that takes a lot of strength and endurance. I mean, you're tough.
I think that must have gotten to my head. That's why I thought I could carry both of them. Yeah.
I love that. And I mean, carrying 2 fully grown people is a lot.
It's a lot.
But I am impressed that you even got them off the ground.
I'm impressed by that
having them.
actually too. I take solace in the fact that I actually did lift them, so
Yeah.
I did carry 2 people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It would have been worse if you were like, I've got this, guys. And then you're just struggling.
Yeah. Or at least started to do it and then back down. So,
Right.
yeah.
So you did accomplish that.
I accomplished that. I carried 2 women on the beach in Miraflores. No, well, in Lima. Yeah.
It sounds amazing. I mean, just even the shoot really sounds like what a great place to go and have fun.
People were
and
great.
Of
They're
course,
amazing.
work. So when you were on set, were there any expectations that you had going in, knowing that Roger was this cult classic director who's considered, I think I saw one thing that called him the Pope of like classic films. So
That's an awesome title.
it is. It
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah.
So what did you think going in? What did you expect?
What did I expect? I didn't expect it to be as much fun as it was, and it turned out to be. I expected it to be, I mean, being in a foreign place I never visited before, I expected it to be adventurous, but I didn't expect it to be as much fun as it was. I'm not sure I had too many expectations, actually. I try not to. Going into projects, I try not to have any expectations, so I'm surprised, and also so I just live in the moment and let everything unravel as it will.
Well, when you first read this script, was the appeal that it was like this cool race? Like, what part of it appealed to you the most?
The insanity. The insanity of it all appealed to me. It was outrageous and it was very bold, and I like that. I haven't had a lot of opportunities to be parts of things like that and projects like that, so I appreciated that a lot. Avant-garde, obviously, and I enjoy the fact that it was a satire, so that gives you a lot of room to play.
Yeah.
Right? And you see the character I play, Minerva, you see her doing a lot of that. I'm actually excited for folks to see this character. I think she's pretty cool.
I think it will be a lot of fun. And speaking of satire, too, it's interesting because your character in another film coming out, If, with William Fichtner and Columbus Short, you also play the comic relief there, don't you?
Yeah, in If, it's directed and written by Maria Van Peebles, and it's a cameo sort of role. So I'm one of the barbers in a barber shop, and she, as regularly takes place in barbershops, just adds 2 or 3 antidotes here and there. Yeah.
And why do you think barber shops? I feel like this comes up a lot. They're always locations where people congregate. They're sets for so many movies and TV shows. What do you think is the appeal about a barber shop?
Well, like a barbershop, just like a salon for women, and a couple other spots too, where you can just go and let loose and talk. So that's like a place where a lot of ideas are bounced, a lot of opinions are shared, and it's, in my experience in barbershops, people are very, very open and forthcoming, and it's almost like a space to, what's the word, to kind of,
Like a welcoming space where it's safe space to talk?
a safe space. There we go. It's kind of like a safe space, and I think perhaps that's why it's usually like a location in a lot of movies to kind of air ideas and kind of bounce different opinions. And I think that's the thing. You have so many different characters in one space, and they all get to share their own, and most of the times different opinions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone, it's a safe space, I guess, to talk.
To talk, exactly.
No,
without judgment,
right.
without criticism, yeah.
Which is key, also, being able to say things without judgment and criticism.
Yeah.
Do you feel that way when you're in, like, the hair and makeup trailer? I feel like a lot of times, maybe because actors spend so much time there, that there's a close relationship with those particular crew members. Do you feel that?
Yeah, I think so. And it's interesting because all of this involves grooming. So I wonder if there's something that makes you vulnerable during that process that allows you to to be open and share your opinions in ways that you otherwise might not, especially when it's in a professional or a public setting.
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting. I never thought about that.
I guess because you're showing people your most vulnerable self, you're not going out already made up. You're going in like raw, I guess, essentially.
And it's almost like some sort of symbolism, like you're building your image and perhaps also building your opinions at the same place. You're drawing in, taking in, and also giving and forming, like yourself, your outer self, also your inner self, perhaps.
Right, building together.
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah, interesting.
So where were you shooting for If?
If we shot that in Ladera Heights area, I believe it's called, here in LA. We shot that in LA.
So was it nice that you got to sort of stay home, or do you prefer when you love travel in general, right? So do you prefer when you have the opportunity to go out somewhere?
I'm a traveler. I'm a globe. I like to try. So any opportunity to travel, I'm taking it. And the more remote the location, the better. Like I'd love to shoot in Cambodia, somewhere. Like I would love to go to Ireland. So I think at the time we shot If, it was a great time to just stay home because I just got back from Nigeria actually. So I'd been in Peru and then I came back to LA and then I went to Dubai and then I went to Nigeria and then I came back home and I came back to LA and I'm like, okay, I just want to relax for a second. And so it was a great time to be home and filming at home. Home being LA, since I have several different homes.
Right, and you grew up, right, mostly in Nigeria and London. Were those the two home bases for you?
I grew up in Nigeria. So I went to school for a little bit in England and then went back home and then would summer a lot in England with my family. And but I was in Nigeria solely until I moved to New York for college.
And so where do you think that extreme love of travel came from? Was it from your parents or passed down?
Yeah, I think so. I think a lot of Nigerians travel as well, but obviously traveling with family from such a young age created that habit. Plus, I'm just curious. I'm a curious person and adventurous. Like I love to eat different types of food, experience different cultures, learn different languages. I was teaching myself how to speak Gaelic online for a while. Just curiosity mostly.
So coming from
curiosity.
And you have clearly a lot of curiosity to go to all these places and these interesting parts within scripts. Do you think, like, what part of it was most difficult for you, I guess, when you told your parents, okay, Mom and Dad, I've decided I'm not going into economics like you thought, I'm going to be a theater major?
What was most difficult? Disappointing them. I didn't want to disappoint them. I also didn't want to fail. They were also spending, I know they'd made sacrifices for me to be in New York and you know, I didn't want to let them down, but I also didn't want to let myself down and not be true to myself.
Do you think that you still would have had that sense of not wanting to let them down if you were going into a career that was more of their choosing, where there's still an opportunity to fail?
Yeah.
So it's this strange sense, right, that you're letting them down by choosing one thing, but there's no guarantee across the board.
The way I felt back then, if I had gone into law, so what they wanted was law, right? So when I moved to New York, the plan was to study economics and then go to law school. So I think at the point I was back then, if I'd gone down the path they wanted, I feel like I would have been extremely nonchalant about it and be like, look, I'm doing what you want. Okay, I don't care if I fail. Here, this is what you want, right? I feel like I would have been very defiant about the whole thing. I don't know. I know my friends still feel like I should go to law school. It's certainly in my blood, like politics and the law, but you know, maybe sometime, maybe in some capacity, I might explore it.
And that's interesting that your friends still say that, despite the success that you're having. I mean, not only these movies, but you've been in some amazing TV shows like Modern Family. I mean, top shows. And yet there's still that sense of pressure. So what is your go-to to protect yourself when you hear things like that?
What do you mean?
To console yourself, I guess. It must be really hard not only to hear that.
Mechanism?
Yeah, not only to hear it from your family, but then to hear it from your friends who you would also think would be supporting you.
Yeah, I don't hear it from my family that much anymore. My friends, I feel like they say it it comes from a good place. My friend, especially Chioma, she says it whenever I get into an argument with them, and then I give them all this different reasons of why I like to support my point and stuff. And then she says, she's Igbo, and she says maka, and which means, I think it means law, something having to do with that, a lawyer. And then she says, well, you should still go to law school. So I think it comes from a good place. They're certainly supportive of my art now, so I don't feel like I don't feel defensive when they say it. But maybe there is something there, but I don't see where it could come in right now.
I feel like it just must be tough to hear that a lot. And
no, I don't think so. Not right now. Maybe I'll pay attention to it now. Now that you say it, I'll pay attention.
Well, not
to it
right now with all this success. Plus, your music is going so well. I mean, you were on with David Bowie. I mean, you've got the single. How did you say to your parents and your family and to yourself, okay, now I'm transitioning even from the acting. I want to do more music as well.
Okay, so this is the story. I wanted to be a musician.
Oh, that's first.
That's what I wanted. We took piano lessons growing up. I remember in high school, secondary school as we called it, I used to beg my mom, please let me get guitar lessons, please, please, please. And she always said no. And then I would escape to the church behind the house, and I would beg the guy there to teach me how to play the bass. And he started teaching me, and then I eventually left and moved to New York, bought my first guitar and taught myself. But they were always very specific about not getting into music. They were completely opposed to it.
Even more than acting.
Well, that's where acting comes in. So somehow in my young mind, I devised a plan. And I'm like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to become an actress so I can become a musician. And that would be a segue that would be more tolerable for them. I don't know why. Like, thinking back, it doesn't quite make any sense, except perhaps it was divine. And so that was the plan. And I was like, I'm going to teach myself how to play the guitar and do all this other stuff on the side, and then just say I'm an actress as a minor, and then tell them I'm going to eventually go to law school. So that's how I got into acting, because I wanted to get into music. And then I got into acting, and I never quite got into music enough for me to call myself a musician. But I enjoy making music. It's my personal outlet. Like, I have control over that. It's I'm very passionate about it, and I like making it. I love performing. But I wouldn't quite call myself a musician yet.
Oh, that's interesting. Despite having played bass for David Bowie, you still wouldn't say that.
No.
And how did that come about? I mean, that's impressive. It's obviously an impressive name. And bass is also a really, I feel like, more unusual instrument as well.
Well, bass is the top four strings of a guitar.
Oh, bass guitar. I was thinking bass like
the big bass?
Yes.
No. The
I was like, that
bass.
is very unusual.
Electric bass. It's electric bass.
Not quite as unusual, but still very competitive then. So how did it come about that you were the one chosen?
I believe Mr. Bowie was looking to recreate the look of his band, his original band. So I guess I fit that look. My hair was blonde then and short, and I got the part, and he wanted us to learn the song, even though we were just playing it for a music video. So I worked on two of his music videos. It was The Stars Are Out Tonight and The Stars Are Out Tonight and what's
The Next Day.
The Next Day. There we go. Yeah. So I worked on both of those.
And so when you got that call to be a returning bassist, was it like, well, I clearly impressed him? Did that sort of little like pat myself on the back feel?
I don't pat myself on the back too often. I think perhaps I should a little bit more.
Yeah.
I was happy to work with him again. Like, everyone involved in that production was awesome, and he had all of us back, all the band players back. Randy, yeah.
Now, when that happened, were you sort of going around saying, David Bowie, guys, I'm going to be in this music video? Because you seem very modest and quiet about it, and these are really cool things that you've done.
I don't think I went around. I think I put in a couple of pictures on social media. Plus, we weren't allowed to talk about it until after it came out. But I put a couple of clips up and stuff.
Was that at least impressive for your family and friends?
I think some of my friends were impressed. My family, I think, I'm not sure.
Your family still wants you to be an attorney. You're like, she'll change her mind.
You know, I don't know. I can't speak for them. I don't know what they want, but I don't remember what their feedback was on that.
And so you also, your song, so it's, and I might be saying it wrong, so it's the period? How do you say the period Folake? The Folake?
The Folake.
Okay, because there's the
period
just
to demarcate the two words.
Got it.
Yeah.
And so how did that song come about?
Well, I wanted to teach. It was like I wanted an intro song and also a fun way to teach folks how to say my name. You know, and that's really the purpose of that song. It's just an introduction. Here, this is how you pronounce the name. Yeah.
Which is so funny because I was talking about this earlier with your publicists because I had heard it and I thought, well, maybe that's stylized. I don't want to assume this is the right way.
What? To pronounce the name?
Yes.
It is somewhat stylized, actually. It is, because obviously I'm not singing it with the accent.
Right.
And the Folake, yeah, it's a little bit more Western than I would usually say it, like Nigerians would say it. Yeah.
Because I thought then I'll come in here and I'll say it like just like in the music.
Wait, go ahead and say it like in the music.
I can't do it like the music.
No, go ahead. I'm actually interested to hear what your takeaway is from the song.
No, because now Folake is locked into my head the real way.
Okay.
So I don't think I can go back without, unless you're gonna sing it for me, and then I can go back and copy.
Well, it's on iTunes. Download it.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Now that the real way is locked in, you know, it's hard to backtrack.
Yeah, it's somewhat stylized, but it's accurate enough to get my attention if you wanted to say my name, obviously.
Right. You'd be like, whoa, is there another one?
Yeah.
So I think that's also really interesting that your choice to use it as an intro to yourself, an intro to say, here's who I am, here's what's coming.
Yeah.
So how did you start with that? Was it more of the idea of I want to introduce myself, here's my name, or was it I want to put out some music, this is sort of something I know?
It started with the want to put out some music, and then I heard the producer's that beat, I heard the track, and a chant. It started with a chant with my name that I'd been playing around with for a while, and I put that in there, and I'm like, okay, well, how do I build on this? And then that just naturally came, and it's also centered around a story of going out and having fun in Nigeria, Lagos, and yeah.
So the track came first. That's interesting because I am not musical other than my stint in high school marching band, so, where I mostly didn't play. I just marched.
Nice. That's still impressive. That's impressive.
I was called a duck for how I marched, so I'm not sure how impressive my marching really was either. But I had a great time.
Okay, good.
So the track came first. It doesn't sort of come at the same time.
In this case, the track came first. In other cases, some of my other songs, I might start off on the guitar, or I might start off with a melody or drums. So it differs. But in this case, the music came first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you have some really interesting projects. And what can we hope for next from you?
Next. I'm not allowed to talk about this too much, but it's a video game.
Oh, that's really cool. You're going to voice a video game.
Yeah. And it's going to be
cool.
bad. Can I say?
Yes, you can.
Yeah, badass. It's going to be badass. It's going to be amazing. The technology they're using is phenomenal, and I'm very, very proud to be a part of it.
And that's very cool. You've done a ton of voiceover work, so your voice is distinctive and beautiful enough that people wanted. So when the video game people came, how involved do you get to be with the character? Like, is there any development to make her like you?
Very. I'm very involved. So the guys I'm working with, they're great. I don't want to talk about this too much. They're great, but yeah, there's a lot of collaboration going on, and it's not going to be another couple of years before it comes out. It's going to be another couple of years before it comes out.
I mean, that's sort of turnaround time, more than a movie. A movie, you usually have like a year and a half, but a couple of years, that's you really have to have faith for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, it's like animation. It takes at least 5 years, even more. How long did it take to complete The Lion King?
I mean, right, it takes a long time.
It takes a really long time, yeah.
It's fascinating because you have to really have faith in all of them that you're going to get to the end.
And I do. These guys are great.
That's really exciting.
Yeah.
Well, once you're allowed to talk about it more, you will have to come back
Okay.
because I think like being part of a video game is just sort of an iconic. It's like being a little character.
It lives
right?
forever, yeah.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining me
Thanks
in
for having
studio
me.
today, Folake. Remind everyone where they can find you on social media.
You guys can find me on Instagram and Twitter. My handle is the Folake.
And I'm Zoe Hewitt. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Zoe Said What. That's Zoe Said What. You can also find me on YouTube at Zoe Hewitt Hosting, where I do a weekly movie analysis show. Thanks so much for joining us on AfterBuzz TV Spotlight On. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.